This podcast episode is brought to you by The Cry Lounge. The Cry Lounge is an independent publishing company founded by this podcast's host, Bonnie Orbison. The Cry Lounge transfers your daydreams onto paper. With 2 book releases the past 2 years, they are preparing to extend their service to other authors and other creatives. To get more details and support this show, there's a link in the description you can check out. The Cry Lounge looks forward to meeting you. Hi, my name is Bonnie Orbison, and you listen to my podcast, Bonnie's Legends. And you just listened to Evie Sollis' Lightning Bugs, my theme song of Season 2 and maybe of Season 3 as well. I like it a lot. And if you want to know who is Evie Sollis, or you know him and you want to know more about him, or you're just a fan and want to listen to an interview, then you are at the right place. Back in July, I interviewed EB because he texted me, because I mentioned him in my story, because I listened to Club 40 Love while driving home. And he said he'd like to have an interview. And that was such an embarrassing moment because he was on my list of legends. And I planned him into Season 2. But I haven't texted him yet. And then he was the one who asked me. I still remember how embarrassing that was for me. Because it was the first time the legend came to me and I didn't go to them. But I figured out really fast that EB is a special person. After the interview we've done and you will listen to, I've realized that I've never met a person like EB before. I don't know what he does or what is so special about him, but I've never met a person that is so wise, and not only in the musical section. Like, I have the feeling he's a really wise human being. And this interview was such a pleasure and such an experience that I believe I'll tell my grandchildren in 6 years or something. So that was really special. And maybe you feel the energy. Maybe I can show you with this interview what for a human being EB Sollis is. And maybe you will say you will be like me after the interview. I don't know where you are right now. I don't know where you're listening to this episode. But after you finish this episode, maybe you will feel exactly like I did after the interview. And you will say, yes, EB Sollis is a legend. Ladies and gentlemen, here's EB Sollis. Hey.
Hi, Bonnie.
How are you?
Just sitting on a rainbow. How you doing?
I'm fine.
What's going on? How you're in Berlin?
No, I'm not in Berlin. That's North Germany. I'm in South Germany right now.
What's the name of your city or town?
I live near Strasbourg, so really near to France.
Near Strasbourg. Okay, so near France.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't gone Berlin before. Only Cologne.
Yeah.
Are you near Cologne or like not at all?
No. But my grandparents are living near them.
Okay. I played there a long time ago.
How are you? No, really. How are you?
Oh, am I? I'm good today. I'm good. I woke up early and got to do my little gratitude practice and meditated and we're gonna have breakfast together because
That's fine. Charlie drank his coffee during the interview, so.
What's up? Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're the first guest of season 2, actually.
Thrilled. Episode 1? Wow, stoked. Thank you.
Yeah, of season 2. Okay, so thank you for being my guest too.
Of course.
I have to tell you something funny. 3 things, they are really funny. First thing, when I sent you the details via mail and you responded, there was saying like Edwin responded to your mail.
Yeah.
And funny is that my neighbor who's over 80, his name is also Edwin. And I was like, does he have no mail, really? What's going on? I was so confused because I had to think of him. But I knew that your name is Edwin Brian, but I was like, then I knew it, but yeah.
You got a great name. Are you friends with your neighbor, Edwin?
Yeah.
You guys are friendly. Dope. I like people in their 80s. They're really cute. I feel like everyone, I don't know. Some people are just like, when you get to that age, you're like, I might as well be nice. You know what I mean? And they just like wave on the street and like, I like that.
Yeah. But in this village, I'm living in a really, really tiny village where 1,500 people.
Wow.
Yeah. And we are all like friends. I mean, okay, there are also some, some people that you don't really understand well, but that's always so.
Oh, find the good ones though, right?
Yeah. And second thing, I never saw you without sunglasses.
You never saw me without sunglasses. Actually, like this was like a big choice, and I'm sort of entering a phase in my life where like I'm not wearing sunglasses as much, and like it's like a protection thing, you know what I mean? And I think when you're younger, you're just like, especially if you're a musician or like, I spent so many years of my life like trying to be cool, you know what I mean? So many years, and I would just throw them on, and it was kind of like my thing. And now, I don't know. I practice like being happier consistently, and I'm like, I swear to God, this is how like ridiculous I am. I went on my own Zoom account, tried on my sunglasses beforehand, took them off, and I was like, you don't need to wear these. Like, this is like not you anymore. Thank you for bringing that up. That was like just like a thing in my head. I appreciate that.
But you always have like a cap. How you call it, cap? Or no, it's not a cap, but how are you calling it?
Look, my hair is in this weird like phase right now where it's like not long and it's not short, and I sort of look like Albert Einstein a little bit.
And the third thing, what's really funny is that I'm always researching before an interview, but I didn't really find something about you.
What do you want to know?
Tell me something about you.
Okay. I was born in New York City. I had a remarkable connection to music when I was very, very little. Like, I remember the first time it hit me like it was yesterday, and I remember where I was, and I remember what I was doing. And I went to this Catholic school on 89th Street, and I think I was in 3rd grade. I must have been 9 years old. We were walking down to lunch, and like, there was a chapel, like from where my classroom was on the 3rd floor down to the like lunchroom where we'd eat in the basement. There's a chapel, and I will never forget it ever. I walked by the chapel and I heard somebody strumming an electric guitar, and it was like I don't know what kind of guitar they were playing. It was definitely distorted because I remember trying to do the thing myself and it not like sounding right, you know? So it was a distorted guitar. It could have been like a G chord to an A chord. It was 2 chords, simple power chords, you know? And I'll never ever forget that moment. The hair on the back of my neck like stood up, and I swear to you, I was possessed, and I was like, whatever it takes to make that sound, I'm gonna do it. Like whatever it is, I don't care who I have to ask, beg, borrow, steal, I'm gonna do that. And that the fact that it was in a church maybe, or like something to do with God or in a chapel, maybe that had an effect on me when I was little, because I don't know, I never really thought about that until now, but it is pretty weird that like you go to those schools and they tell you all those things, and like the thing that got me in the most trouble ended up being a thing that I just saw like happen in church. So kind of funny. That's an interesting fact. Actually, the dude who was playing the guitar ended up being my first guitar teacher ever. And I was terrified to ask him when I was so scared. Like everything about music to me seems so intangible and foreign. And it was, I felt like I'd still, you know, it's like the one thing that like makes me like cower in its presence. Like, and that's the most, I think, enticing thing about it to me still is that it doesn't matter. There's good and bad to that, because I've met terrible people who are amazing musicians, and they can start playing or singing or doing something with the computer, and immediately all of their character defects and their shortcomings are just wiped out, you know? I've also met amazing people who I want to like their music so badly. You know, you meet someone and they're just so charming and you're like, oh my, and then you hear it and you're like, oh, you know? So it's like the power of that thing, like it's bigger than the people. And I think somehow when I was really, really little, I just like understood that, you know? Not to give myself too much credit, but it's still like, as a grown up, like kind of like it's so I acknowledge how much bigger it is than me, you know? It'll be here way after me and was here before me.
I read somewhere that you got named, or you named yourself after your grandfather. Is that right?
Yeah, after my dad's dad. He was EB the first. It's funny, we're so different as people, you know, like he was a really cool guy. He's a very handsome guy. He's very egotistical, really funny. He loved my grandmother so much, you know, but very kind of like stern and unforgiving. Like, I don't think like I embody his personality at all. So it's funny that we share the same name, but wherever he is, I love him.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, EB Sollis, and then I looked up and was like, oh, he's the second. Okay.
I am.
So for season 2, I have something like the 16 questions, but it's different. I called it the 5 life questions.
Okay.
And the first thing is, what's your full name?
Edwin Bryant Sollis II.
Birthday?
March 21st. And the year?
I mean, if you want.
No, I'm just going to say I'm old enough to know that I don't know shit.
But then your birthday and Charlie's birthday are really close together.
Yeah. Yeah. He's wait, Neil, he's May,
No,
right?
April.
April 20th? 4th? Oh, come on, don't do this to me. I'm on the spot. Fuck, I feel terrible.
Something with April.
Because Charlie and we met. You continue with your questions, and I'll tell you how Charlie and I met.
Okay. A song who describes you the most.
That's Life by Frank Sinatra.
Okay. Describe yourself in 2 free sentences.
Forever in gratitude, forever in love, forever in recovery.
Who's your legend?
Who's my legend? Oh, That's so hard. Does it have to be a person?
No.
Okay. I don't really know how. Can I try and describe it? Because I don't know if there's like a word for it. The most legendary thing about life to me is that you can begin again at any moment.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how far down you get or how much bad you do, there's always an opportunity for you to just throw your hands up and be like, I'm out of control right now, and I can do better. I feel like the most legendary thing is that, I don't know, I've just learned recently like how out of control like I really feel like I am, and like the more I acknowledge that, and the more I just try and be decent and try and be good and to be thankful and to be helpful and in service and less in my own head and more helpful, the better I feel. And the fact that I was able to figure that out after so many things went down in my life and like I felt so fucked up, that's the most legendary thing about life to me. And the fact that anyone can do that, anyone, anywhere, at any time, can all of a sudden be like, I gotta change. Change is my legend, the ability to change. That's
great. I never had that.
Sorry, because with the person, like it's hard because like everyone's like this, like, and like I'm like that, and like I'm good sometimes and I'm terrible sometimes, but like acknowledge that,
So how did you and Charlie meet?
Charlie and I met. He says that we had met in clubs DJing together.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything about those days, to be honest with you. Nothing. I remember showing up late, being nervous, being drunk, leaving, getting obliterated, and never knowing. I actually was like trying to go back through flyers the other day to be like, maybe I should save these. And I realized that for so long, I had been DJing in nightclubs and was just like, everything was over my head, and like I was in a band for a really, really long time. Like before that particular, kind of during, but like DJing became something I had to rely on after my band broke up. And Charlie and I says that he says that we met DJing. I don't remember that. I remember meeting Charlie in an Uber. We went to a friend's restaurant in, I always forget the name of this neighborhood, Ridgewood. It's in between Brooklyn and Queens.
Okay.
And we realized that we were making music, that we both made music, and I was just having like a particular like revelatory moment in my own music making. I had a very interesting like kind of like, that was a very, very interesting moment in my life. Actually, like probably like the best moment I've like ever had. It like led to everything good that I have now. And like, he was kind of like intrigued by it. I hadn't shared it with too many people that I was making music, which everyone knew that I had done forever, but not even in the bad burn a bridge way. Like it was just like people were just fed up with my bullshit, and okay. I was fed up with my bullshit. And like, I was just like, I didn't want to pitch to people anymore. I had had some really good success as a songwriter. I got a publishing deal in LA. I was ghostwriting for pop bands. One song did really well. It broke the #1 record on Sirius BPM channel. It went #1 9 weeks in a row. I got an award from the Songwriters Hall of Fame for it. It went #1 on iTunes Electronic twice. And it wasn't a song that I was proud of,
Okay.
It's not like I hated it, but I remember listening to it and not caring, hearing playback, and I'd written a ton of songs with these guys, and they were very ambitious, and like I kind of had a feeling that something might happen if I kept working with them, which it did. And I remember hearing the playback, and I was like, oh, and like went back to whatever I was doing. So much time passed between that moment and when the song ended up coming out. I was on tour with my friend when it came out, and I got like a call from my CSAC rep, and she was like, yo, this song is gonna like make you some money. And I was like, never a phone call I expected to get in my life ever, you know? And that was kind of like a brief moment in time. And then I'm sure maybe it doesn't happen to everyone. It's happened to some people. I sort of was like, okay, but like the next one is going to be like way bigger and like blah, blah, blah. And like there was no next one, you know? So part of that, and part of just like that headspace for me was like, I was in my own band for a long time. I loved it. I loved it, loved it, loved it. We got a manager who worked for some really famous, really legendary people. And all of a sudden this thing in my head switched. And I was like, as long as I do what he wants me to do, like if I just do it for long enough, like I'll be able to do what I want to do one day, you know? And like, somehow you get into that mindset and it just takes you so long to break, because you're like resistance weakens, you know? And you like give them an inch and they take a mile, and they're like, okay, not just do a song my way, like do an album my way. Then it's like dress my way. Then it's like, here's how you should talk to people in interviews. Do you know what I mean? And at a certain point, yeah, I mean, that was like a 5-year period of my life, you know, which like bled into the band. The band broke up. Then another friend of mine who was just going to manage me as a songwriter, he got backed by a venture capitalist to start his own record company. And he gave me a publishing deal. And that's how I met the guys who I was writing songs for. And so after that song happened, shortly after it succeeded, I quit drinking and partying. That was in November of 2017. And I spent 2 years trying to like not do it with like recovery or any help, just dry. You know what I mean?
Okay.
They call it white knuckling, like by myself. I was like, I don't want to go to AA. I don't want help. I don't want anything, you know? And shortly before I met Charlie, I sort of had like a holy shit moment in my life. And I was just like, you know, down on my knees. Like I'd never like, you know, had like that moment, like being like, please help me, whatever, whoever is listening, please just like, I'll do anything if I never have to feel like this again. And a little bit after that, I was having a really, really sad day. And I was sort of like, I think if I don't make music right now, I'd given up. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was depressed, and I was like dry, and I wasn't talking to anybody, and I was really lonely. And I started making music again. And I remember I was like, I'm just going to finish this until it's done. And no lie, I ended up writing the best song I've ever written before. And I knew it when it was done, and knew it. And like that song hasn't been released yet.
Okay.
Someone is interested in putting it on their record. Someone amazing, you know? And we'll see if that happens. If it doesn't, we'll probably end up releasing it. But I remember sending it to somebody I really, really admire, like one of my musical heroes, my friend Jerry at Tiz himself. If you don't know him, look him up. He's he's younger than me.
How's
he's
his
like
name? Cherry?
Jerry, Jerry. But his music name is Tiz, Tiz, like Tiz himself. And I sent it to him, and he was like, let me see what I can do with this. And I knew what I sent it to him because we had never had that communication before. I look up to him so much that like when he was like, "This is really good," I was like, maybe I can do this. You know, I was just feeling so low and so sad, and like all of a sudden it was this jolt. Then another friend of mine was like, "You should try making rap music with no drums in it," and I was like, "That's genius." So like I started doing that, and then I met Charlie like shortly thereafter, and I explained all of this to him, and he was like, "We could sit down and make some music together," and we did. And I remember kind of having that moment the first day that we worked together. And I didn't really know anything about Charlie. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm saying the whole thing about the clubs and knowing one another. That's the thing. Like, I'm a space case, you know? So, like, a lot of it is, like, lost on me, truly. And when I sat down with him, it was just me making music with another person. And, like, I really, really liked the music we made. I did. I remember, like, riding home and it was raining in an Uber and, like, listening to it from Brooklyn and, like, being like, this is really good. I would like to see where this goes.
When I was 8, I started reading biographies of like literally everybody. I realized that I think I just learned so much from these biographies that always the manager was kind of always the person who changed the star to a different person they didn't want it to be. And I think from that moment on, I got this mindset that I want to be independent. For example, now this is podcast. I said, I'm going to do everything on my own. I self-published my book 2 weeks ago because I said, I want to do it on my own.
Yes, man. That's amazing. Anybody who puts their mind to anything can do anything.
Yeah.
Despite all of his recent lunacy, there was a version of Kanye West that was a kid sitting down with a drum machine trying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same with David Bowie. He was just a kid at a piano one day. Look, I do believe in God-given talent. There's no denying that some people have that extra touch. But trust me, the ones we know about, they worked harder than everybody else. Seriously. Yeah. I'm not into sports, but I watched the Michael Jordan thing that was on ESPN. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody who ever knew the guy was like, when we were taking the summers off after college, he was in the gym practicing, you know, when we were going home and hanging out with our wives, he was with the coach reviewing game tapes. Like there's no surprises there. Same with Prince. I just read Prince's book and like all he ever did was make music. You know what I mean? He never stopped. And when he wasn't making music, he was writing Purple Rain. And when he was writing Purple Rain, he was designing costumes. Like, that's what it takes. Damn, like you can do anything. Sing, learn to roller skate, whatever you want, you know? Like, for real.
Yeah. So when I got bullied to school, 2 years in school. That was really hard. And I was always called a dreamer and I would never make it, all that stuff. And then when I changed school and rereading all these biographies and rewatching all these documentaries, I learned that every star got told they will not do it. And they kept just going and they always got told they're dreamers, but they reached the dreams. And I was like, okay, I can do that too. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And I think why people tell you that in school is because everybody has doubt in themselves. You know, I have doubt, you have doubt. For most people, and especially in that metamorphosis from child to adult, that doubt becomes cynicism, you know, and then it becomes anger, and then it becomes repressed anger, which turns into finger pointing, you know, and people being like, you can't do it. And of course, there are teachers who are guilty of that. They're great teachers. They're okay teachers, you know, like we all know the difference. But like one thing that's really true is like I've spent my life being a dreamer, and only very recently like have I become a doer, you know, and I realize, you know, I've let go of the illusion that it could be any different, you know, like it is what it is now.
Yeah.
But the truth is, when I started really trying and I started really putting the hours in, I realized that like I could do something with the thoughts or passions that I had. And it's really up to me, honestly. And like, that was a big lesson for me to learn, because if you grow up in New York, or you grow up in a place where like I was ambitious and there were a lot of people who were like, oh, let me help you. You know what I mean? And like, of course, I'll let people do the homework for me all day long, you know? And that was probably dumb, you know, in hindsight, because I should have learned to do the homework myself. I should have learned how to do all the hard stuff, and like, learning curve, you know, baby steps now, and then it'll just be big leaps when I look back.
Yeah. When I started making, like, self-publishing my book, I remember I had a good friend, my brother and I, we had a good friend, which was Tim. And he kind of said, yeah, I'm helping you. And then he told me some things about that. I interviewed him about self-publishing books on Amazon. And then he kind of helped me. And he was like, yeah, if you have any questions, then just ask me. And then 1 month later, he died. And
Sorry.
And that's okay. That's okay. It's now 1 year ago. But I was really like, okay, now I have no one, and no one around me. Like, I told you, I'm living in a tiny village, and like, nobody's here a musician, or nobody's here an author, or nobody's publishing anything. And I was really like, okay, now I'm on my own. And then I really just said, okay, I have now to learn that. And I really sat down and read books and watched tutorials on YouTube and all that stuff. But that's funny, because you said in New York you have the ability to, like, the people want to help you, and then you told me now that it's dumb, and I was always like, I want someone who helps me.
Yeah, but that's the greatest thing about the internet now. You know what I mean? It's really in this moment in time where, like, you know, we were all practically born on the internet, and like, we've realized that it's not only a tool for Instagram and tiny things and games, but it's like a place where we experienced love for the first time. You know what I mean? It's a place where we experienced real hatred and anger for the first time. And it's just allowed us the ability to communicate these things with other people. And like, you can find people on the internet. I just sent a beat to some kid from the Club 40 Love page who hit me up and was like, how much do you guys charge for beat? And I thought, because I've like worked with a lot of rappers, I was like, is he asking us if we can pay him to be on a song? Because I was like, I can't do that. But like, I'm down to talk about something. And I had listened to his music, and I was like, I love this guy's voice. He reminded me of No Lamber Rollin' and all these like SoundCloud rappers I love. I sent him something, and he was like, this is amazing. And I was like, I think your voice is amazing. And like, dude, that's a DM off Instagram. I hope his friends like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know I love the thing that like I worked on, and like Charlie and me had used it for like a video clip, and like it's just sort of like sitting in the ether right now. So I was like, yeah, I'll send this kid this thing, like, for sure. Like, why not? And he loved it. Here's this thing for the first time ever, where if you want to self-publish your book, or like you want to reach out to people, there are groups and meetings, and everybody's home right now. And like, what better time to like allow, you know, those seeds that we've planted to kind of grow and blossom and see what's us.
Yeah. Or I'm just DMing legends. I just, you know, I mean, I'm DMing you.
Legend, but like, I definitely am so interested by the fact that you're trying. You know, I'm inspired by you for trying. Seriously, like, here we all are stuck at home, and we're people here on the planet Earth trying, right?
Yeah.
Like, shout out to us. Like, that's awesome. Really.
So who influenced you the most to make music?
My family was very musical. I knew that I could sing when I was really little. I was put in like the special group of singers in school when I was really young, of like the kids who had good voices. My dad was super inspiring to me. I'd say like my like my like favorite like musicians, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
There have been a lot that have like influenced me at different points. I think like if I were to give you like my top 5
Sure.
all time, Stevie Wonder, Keith Richards, Bob Marley, Prince. And it's hard for me to say this one because his personal life and his personal politics are so like comically disastrous. But like, and this is a new one for me, is Kanye. Like, this is like probably like 3-4 years old. I spent my whole life hating Kanye West. Every couple of years, my friend Jenny Lewis, actually, she like put this practice into me. She was telling me about the pre-production she did for a record called The Voyager, and her producer at the time told her to listen to this band called Creed. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
No, I think I heard of them.
Yeah, I think they suck. And she thought they sucked too. But she listened to this band, their pre-production process. He was like, you have to listen to Creed for 2 weeks. And she listened to nothing but Creed for 2 weeks, and she went on to post, maybe the most amazing record of her career. I don't want to say that because her last record was great too, but she wrote an amazing record after listening to shit she hated, right? So I was like, I'm going to do that too. And so my 2 artists a few years back were Kanye and Billy Joel. I didn't like Billy Joel and I didn't like Kanye. Ended up loving them. And for him, like, I think the reason, all those other guys, of course, like you say Bob Marley, and it's just like he's a deity in Jamaica. Like people his songs in church, so it's weird to throw Kanye West in there, but he was taking risks in places where other people were not taking risks, and he invented things years before they were popular, and I respect that immensely. I don't know, the last song, all of it recently has been really like hard for me to stomach, I think for a lot of people, but he's got moments, man. You go back and listen to some of that stuff and you're just like, oh my God, this guy's so talented. So those would be like my music legends.
Okay. What's your favorite music genre?
I need to like get this out of the way and say it because my favorite band of all time is a band called Phish. Do you know this band? Phish. No. Because they're very like, they've never had a hit record. They've never had a platinum single.
Okay.
And they sell out Madison Square Garden 13 nights in a row. They have never not played to a sold out stadium in like 30 years, but they fly completely under the radar, just doing their own thing. Ever to try and emulate anybody, not musically, but just emotionally, it would be them. They are it for me. So like genre, they have everything baked into theirs. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't even be listening to some music.
What's your favorite music decade?
My favorite music decade is probably the 90s because I was a kid, and like even the old stuff I discovered then, and like that was the first time I'd ever like, I was really young. I was like, 8 and 9 and 10, and like you hear music for the first time and you're just like, oh, like you just like yours. And I still find myself going back, like if I'm on like autopilot, like I'll be going back and like listening to like 90s like music, like
I was 8 and my dad always had music on, and he always listened to oldies, like 80s. He was really an 80s fan and the rock music and that stuff. And I was 8 and I listened Friends Will Be Friends by Queen on the radio. And I wanted to know this song, and then he found it and was like, yeah, that's Friends Will Be Friends by Queen. And since then, that was 8 when I was 8 years, and that was the moment where I discovered music. 80s are the best music ever. I want to just listen to the 80s. And then I always went back. I started listening to the 70s, to the 60s, to the 50s. Then I discovered Roy Orbison and called myself after him. I mean, you know.
I love that. I didn't know that. That's so cool.
And then last year I said, okay, I'm just going now into the new music. And then during quarantine, actually, I discovered the 90s, because I left out the 90s and just went to the zeros and then to the tens. And but I like the 90s now too.
It was the last, I think like looking back, it was the last time that like rock and roll music before very recently was able to be new, or was accepted. It's something that was like truly new, because Charlie and I, like, the way that I always look at Club 40 Love is that like we're a rock band, but we're using instruments. You know what I mean? Like that's like, that was kind of like my hope when we got together, was that like we would make rock music but not use instruments, or we wouldn't rely on instruments the way that a rock band had in the past. We would take all these influences that we had so much rap music. You know what I mean? I was like a rock and roll guy raised on rap music. So like, I always wanted to express that part of like my love for all that stuff, but like certainly wasn't about to like get on a microphone and start. It would have felt ridiculous.
Yeah, but again, to Club 40 Love, I have a question. Every time I listen to Don't Look Down, I have the feeling that the first part where you're singing is your part, and then when the instrumentals are coming, that's like Charlie said, okay, now we have to put something like more brighten up. Is that right? I can imagine it like that.
Sort of. I mean, that I had a demo that I had made, and like part of what we did the day that we met to write that song was we sat down and I played him a bunch of stuff that I had been working on. And one thing like really perked him up that ended up becoming Don't Look Down. And it was sort of like the long thing with like, it had like strings in it and like a bass line that we ended up, like what sounds like the bells now was like a big there's this little like kid's voice in the background, like,
yeah.
And like that was over the whole track. And so I remember both of us were like, this is dope, like we have to put in the song, like this is great, but like the whole way through it's just gonna be like, so we just like figured out to put that part. But the singing part, I remember, because I wrote the lyrics in the bathroom of the studio, and sort of had weird, because when you write songs a lot of the time, like I'll spend hours and hours writing lyrics, and like it was like that for a lot of the songs that we wrote, and some of the ones we did together, like Stand United we did together. I had like written the melody to the chorus, I think even before like Charlie and I had worked together, but like we wrote those lyrics in his studio, like the second verse, and then the lyrics for Don't Look Down kind of just like came right out. You know what I mean? There was like no stopping. He hummed the melody to the chorus. I remember, because I have it on my phone as a voice note, and he was like na 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 na, and like I remember sitting down on the couch and just kind of writing down the first thing that came to my head, and like that became the song. And it's probably, in that, like of all the songs we've worked on, that was the one that when I got it back from him after working on it, that I listened to the most for my own pleasure, I really love that song, and I'm super proud to have like worked on it. Like,
yeah, and Club 40, I love that the lyrics are always like it's always hope in these lyrics, and it's always positive, and like always stand united and don't look down and that stuff. It's always like, yeah, don't look down and stand united.
Because like with Don't Look Down, I feel like I'd had a lot of change going on in my life. I just moved to LA for the second time. I was sober. I had a new job, like a job that was incredibly intense, and like I felt like I was on a tightrope, you know, and like as long as you don't look down, like you're not gonna fall. And when you close your eyes, you know, you're actually like, you can see the goal, you can see the finish line, like you can see yourself not falling on the tightrope. So just like,
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Or like in the instrument part, you're seeing yourself flying up and like, yeah, don't look down.
No, for sure. I love that you got that, because that's like, yeah, man, you know, for sure.
Yeah, I just remember I woke up, and I mean, in Germany, we can listen to it before you guys in the US can listen to it. And I woke up and was like, everybody left the house, and I was, okay, I have to wash my hair. And I'm always listening to music, like getting ready for the day. And I was like, oh, Charlie maybe put out the song. Okay, I listened to it now. And I was like washing my hair and was like, oh, this is dope. I was really like, oh, this is amazing.
Thank you. That's so nice. It's all worth it.
And then I listened to the song the whole day, and like the next days I just had this song spinning my head and singing around, and everybody was like, can you stop singing that song?
So when I first got the playback, I had to take a really, really long drive from where I am in Santa Monica to a place deep in the valley in LA called West, which is like an hour away from where I was living. So I was riding every morning to work with my friend she was working with me at the time. She was a surfer, and we would go up PCH, Pacific Coast Highway, every day, and then drive through Malibu Canyon, and like the song would play, and there would be these giant mountains that we would be driving around. I grew up, you know, so like I'm such a city kid, and like the idea beach and mountains and like all this stuff around, I was just like, oh my God, you know. And like hearing that song, she loved the song, so we would listen to it all the time in her car. And I remember just thinking like, I think people are gonna like this one, because like I like it, and I'm so critical of myself, you know. Like I wrote songs for a lot of time in my life that I was just like, okay, like people will like this. I had the wrong intention, you know. And like, I think at the end of the day, like if you don't like it, like who cares, you know? Like,
yeah. So your music genre, what are you doing? So what you're making music is electronic, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's electronic. I don't know. I'm a songwriter first and foremost, so like I feel like you can't do it without a guitar and a voice, you know. So with our songs, I feel like we could take everything away, play them on a piano, and sing it, and it would still be good. So like, all the bells and whistles are cool, but like, I don't know. That's just like, you know, that's like whatever. It's like decoration, you know.
Yeah.
Tree, you can't have the Christmas tree. You know what I mean? Like,
maybe you're releasing some stripped down versions.
Yeah, I think at some point I would love to explore that option, you know.
So what's your process of songwriting?
My process of songwriting is trying until I get something that I like listening back to. Yeah, it just starts with me doing something until I like it. Sometimes I write vocal melodies. Sometimes I start with lyrics. It really depends. It's like, it's different, a little bit different every time. With Club 40 Love, it's easier because there's intention there. You know, I think I know what it's supposed to sound like. So getting there, that's different. But when I'm just like writing, that's when I like need to like focus. I'm working on something. I just sent Tiz himself a song last week, and I was sort of writing it with him in mind. And I was like, I'm gonna do this until it sounds good. And it took like about 2 weeks for like something that was like, I don't know, 2 minutes long. And now I'm working on another one. I was playing with it last night. I just kind of try and do a little bit each day, just open up my computer and like play with it. I have my guitar tuned in open E right now, which means that like the strings make a chord when you don't like press anything.
Yeah.
Because I was like, all right, like I've been in like standard tuning for a long time. Maybe I'll just retune it and like get something out of it,
What program are you using?
Ableton 9. I don't want to upgrade to 10. And everybody not to upgrade to 10. Like they do it and they regret it. Sorry, Charlie, if you're listening to this, like I'm not upgrading to 10. Fuck that shit.
No, but I pretty sure it's so I got to Christmas or I gifted myself to Christmas this MIDI keyboard. Oh.
Cool.
Yeah, and that was Ableton Live 10 diff, and I didn't even have the chance to upgrade it.
Oh, so you started at 10. Yeah, I'm still using a cracked version of Ableton 9. Almost all of the demos that became Club 40 love songs were made on a cracked version of Ableton 9. But I kind of had a better understanding of how to do the thing before I ever had a digital recording interface.
Okay. Yeah, sure. But that's your generation, kind of.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like my generation are like always like bedroom pop and that stuff.
But I love a lot of that stuff. I do.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Great. What are your plans for today?
My plans for today after we hang up are to get to work. I'm the brand director of a company called Big Dogs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that's what I saw in your Instagram video.
Yeah. And we're working on collections for the fall and for Christmas. And that's what I'll be doing today. And usually on Friday nights, I do a little double feature with movies. So tonight, I'm not sure what I'm going to watch, but I can tell you that last week I did The Trip and Beyond Valley of the Dolls. And the week before that, I did Over the Edge and Kids. And then the week before that was A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints and Clockers. So I'll pick 2 movies like similar in theme.
That sounds great. So you do that when you have the time I have right now?
Yeah, like that's what I do on Friday nights. I love watching movies. I love going to the movies, and since we can't do that right now, I have like all the channels, like every Disney Plus, HBO Max, Hulu, Amazon, all of it. And so like I'll pick 2 things, a lot of like old obscure movies too, and like watch them on Fridays and eat pizza.
Yeah, but kind of having this ritual is great because when I'm walking, I'm really like sitting down. Like I'm the only one in my school right now who's like walking during school.
Had a kid. Let me tell you, like you're gonna do great things. Don't ever change. Keep doing it.
So I'm waking up and then I'm walking. Sometimes I'm really like dancing just to, calm down. And then at nights, I'm really like watching. As I told you, I was a kid who listened to 80s music and that stuff. And I also just watched 80s movies, series. So every time I go to bed, I watch one episode of Magnum PI or Columbo.
Hey, I've been watching Magnum PI too. That's so crazy. Yeah, just first time.
I love Magnum.
Started in the pandemic. So good. Never. Oh my God, amazing. Yeah, I'm super into it.
Didn't you watch it before?
No, I never saw it.
But you're watching the old series?
Yeah, the old
because
series.
They went like a revisited version. I don't know. I didn't watch it because I was like, I will be disappointed.
I haven't watched the new one. I actually think I have a friend who writes for the new one.
I didn't say anything.
No. But I think he writes for television. You know what I mean? Like it's not that, it's something else. But like I think that's what I knew there was a Magnum PI out.
Okay.
I watch TV. I don't even have cable. I like to watch old Beverly Hills 90210, Melrose Place.
Yeah.
Although she wasn't allowed to watch as a kid. Like, I feel like I can watch it now because I'm a grown up, you know?
Yeah, but keep watching Magnum PI. It's great. I watched all 8 seasons. He was like, I had 2 posters of Magnum on my wall.
Your celebrity crush, Tom Selleck, as Magnum PI.
No, he was not my celebrity crush, but around that time it started with my dad kind of, you know, he kind of became difficult. And I was just like, I want to have a dad like Tom Selleck in Magnum PI. So I got these 2 posters and I was like, yeah, daddy. Totally weird.
Oh my God. That's so funny. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, actually that was my first book I ever finished. That was a fan fiction. It was called Magnum's Daughter.
So I'm talking to Magnum's daughter, like basically, it's what's happening. That's you. Amazing. Amazing.
Okay, yeah, that was great.
I really appreciate it. Like, whatever you're doing, don't question anything. Remember to breathe, keep your blinders on, and just tune out that noise. For real. Keep going.
Great. Great, then have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.
This was Evie Sollis, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode and are excited for the interviews I've prepared for season 2 that are coming out in the next weeks. Maybe you'll subscribe to this podcast and maybe you're gonna check out the link in my bio to support this show, to support me. There's my Patreon, and if you become a Patreon, I can tell you that you will get unseen and unheard bonus content from this episode. It's definitely worth it to check it out, and until then, have a nice night, day, I don't know, wherever you are right now, night, day, evening, afternoon, no idea. And we see us next week for the episode with Kyla Rain. Your host, Bonnie Orbison.